Hello everyone, sorry I'm not there with you today. Will you please pull out your Unit 11 packets? There's extras on the back table if anyone is missing theirs. And then today's going to be really similar in setup to the last time that I was gone. I want you to turn to page 31. Now I know that we've done some, if not all, of these problems already together. I just am going to do a couple of these to remind you about Le Chatelier's principle, and then the worksheet at the end. If I get a good report back from the sub saying that everyone was working hard the whole time, then I'll count that as the quiz for this. Okay, guys, so pay close attention. So we're on page 31. Now, again, some of these may have already done, but if they're already done, I just want you listening and paying attention. If they're not done, then I want you adding to your notes. So here's like example number 2 says, what would happen if you add more H2CO3? So just as a reminder, up above the reaction, that's where I add arrows that represent the stress, something that's going to throw it out of equilibrium. And down below is where I put the response by a chemical reaction. And don't forget that if we have a forward reaction, that's when reactants are turning into products. This one is forward. And so when reactants turn into products, the amount of reactants go down and the products go up. But if we're favoring a reverse reaction, then the opposite is happening. The amount of products go down and the reactants go up, and that's a reverse reaction. So the stress that's happening is we are adding H2CO3. Now, just a reminder, a reaction responds by doing the exact opposite from whatever the stress was. So if the stress was adding H2CO3, well, the reaction's going to respond by trying to decrease H2CO3. Now, H2CO3 is on the product side. So the only way a reaction's going to decrease a product is by favoring that reverse reaction. That's where products go down and reactants go up. So there's multiple things that you could say happen when we add H2CO3. One of the things that you could say is that we're going to favor the reverse reaction. You could say that equilibrium shifted to the left. Okay, it shifted to the left because it was a reverse reaction. We could say that we saw an increase in H2O. The other thing you could say is that we saw an increase in CO2. Okay. So now, what if instead of adding something, we took away something? So like looking at example number 4. This one's like the exact opposite, so actually let's do number 3. What would happen if you removed some CO2? So the stress is removing CO2. Now, reminder, a reaction responds by doing the exact opposite, so it's going to respond by trying to increase CO2. CO2 is a reactant though, and similar to last time, the only way we're going to increase a reactant is by favoring this reverse reaction. That's when products go down and reactants go up. So it's not just true for this guy, the whole reaction responds that way. So products are going to go down and reactants are going to go up. Now you're going to notice that what would happen is really similar to our last one. We are going to be favoring, oh, look, I wrote favoring the reaction, favoring the reverse reaction. And that's what we see here, is we're going to favor the reverse reaction. Or another way of saying this is that the equilibrium will shift to the left, We also see that the H2O increased, so you say increased H2O. We also see that H2CO3 went down, so decrease in H2CO3. Okay, great. Now, turn the page. I want to show you at least one example with temperature. Let's look at number 7. Okay, first thing, reminder, if you see heat on the product side, this means this is an exothermic reaction. So this reaction right here is an exothermic reaction. It's releasing heat. Where if we see heat on the product side like we do in number 6, that would be an endothermic reaction. It's gaining heat. All right, what would happen if you removed heat from the reaction? So the stress is removing heat. So the reaction is going to respond by doing the opposite. It's going to try to produce or make heat. But in order to produce heat where heat is on the product side, that means that we have to favor the forward reaction, because only in a forward reaction do the reactants decrease and the products increase. So lots of things happen when we add the stress of decreasing heat. The first thing that we could say is that we're going to favor the forward reaction. The other thing that we could say, which means the same thing, that the equilibrium will shift to the right. A couple other things happened when this stress occurred. We saw decreasing, so we decrease SO2 and O2, those both decreased, and then SO3 increased. So all those things happened because we decreased the heat. Now, what if we have the same reaction, but instead we added O2? So the stress is adding O2. Well, the reaction responds by doing the opposite, tries to decrease O2. O2 is a reactant, and the only way that we can decrease a reactant is once again by favoring the forward reaction, because it's a forward reaction where reactants disappear and products appear. So again, we could say that we're going to favor the forward reaction. We could say that the equilibrium will shift to the right. We could also say that SO2 decreases, that SO3 increases, and then the last one we could say for this is we increase heat, or like temp raised, like the temperature increased because we're producing heat. Okay, so that was good practice. Now here's the worksheet that if you're working diligently, then I'll count this as the quiz. So it starts on page 34 and it goes through, I think, until the end. Yeah, until page 39. Till page 39, okay? So 34 through 39. You can totally get this done. I will make an answer key and I will leave that answer key with the sub. So at any point you can come up and you can check that answer key. You cannot take the answer key back to your desk, and you can't just copy from the answer key. So do 1 through 4 and then come up and check the answer key. And if you got it wrong, then it's okay to change your answer, but make sure you're understanding why the correct answer is the correct answer. And then when you're done, I want you to pull these pages out of your packet. staple them together and turn them into the box, and I'll count that as the quiz. I need one set of stapled papers per person, so everyone needs to turn in their own, but I'm okay if you work together in your groups. Okay, thank you guys so much. Work hard and get this done, and then I will see you all next week.